I didn't come out until I moved to LA and I was living here and I had my own life. I would love two children, two daughters, Sierra and Leone from Africa. One much blacker than the other one. That's how we tell them apart. Someone saw me for who I was. I'll never forget that. Welcome to this week's Just a Sip. I am Justin Sylvester, and I'm going to take my own sip today. And here to help me do that is Nina Parker.
Yay! I'm so excited to be with you.
Thank
you're one of my
here.
favorite people.
You know you're one of the scariest people I know.
What?
Yes, bitch, because you don't care. And you will let a bitch know when you're not getting what you want.
Well, I don't think I'm scary. I just think I'm honest. And I think that's rare in this business.
Which is why I have you here
honest.
today.
It's funny because I feel like I know you. You're the person I feel like I know very well, but still there's like a mystery about your life that I feel like I don't know.
But I feel like if you ask me, I'm an open book.
Yeah, I don't think you're guarded. I just think there's a lot more layers to you than I think meets the eye. I do want to talk to you about how you navigate because I don't think I've ever really seen you angry. Like I've seen you a little upset. I've seen you frustrated. I've never heard you raise your voice other than when you're happy.
You know, it's crazy because when you go through a lot in life, and I was an angry teenager.
Were you?
I was. I didn't understand who I was. I felt misunderstood. And I felt alone at times because I was gay and black growing up in South Louisiana. So a lot of times I would lash out at people that I loved because I didn't know why. And once I got to know myself, it really alleviated that, you know, when you have to hide a part of who you are, especially such a big part of who you are, you start to not only be angry with the world, but you start to be angry with yourself.
When you say hi, do you know like 100% that's you're gay or do you just feel like different?
When I was 5, I knew I was different.
Okay. And
there was another gay person in my hometown. I grew up in a really small town in Louisiana.
What was the name?
Brobridge. And it was very segregated. There was a train track that had a white side and then you had a black side. But I will never forget this. And my sister reminded me of this story and she wanted to tell me this story, but I was like, I remember it. And it was when this guy who was openly gay in our town got jumped by a bunch of high school kids. I was probably in the 5th or 6th grade at this point. And my sister was across the street watching it all go down. She was only 5 years older than me. And I remember the look that she gave me that day. And it was a look that I never want that to happen to you. And you have to not be this person because I can't help you. She said that to me in a look.
Yes.
And we never talked about it after that. And it wasn't until I was 32, 3 weeks ago, we talked about, you know, some things and how happy I was in my life that I could be myself and, you know, live my truth. And she recollected that story to me and she didn't know that I knew that's what she was feeling at the time.
It was as significant to her as it was to you.
Yes.
But you guys never talked about it until this point.
We never talked about it until this point.
Did you ever fight in school?
I had to fight, but I had a friend. But
you had a friend?
I had a friend who would fight for me. Her name was Chastity Mabin. Thank you so much, Chastity Mabin, for everything. She was fearless.
She didn't play about her
She didn't play, man. And I survived because those women, those girls who are now women, would surround me and not let them come after me.
God.
And they all knew. Like Chastity Mabin and I grew up together since we were kids, and she would fight every month after me.
Yeah.
And I think once I came to LA at 21 and I got a chance to see what open gay men live like and how happy and fulfilled they are, my happiness and the rage that I had flipped.
So you didn't come out until you moved to LA?
I didn't come out until I moved to LA, and I didn't come out to my mother until I was well into LA and I was living here and I had my own life.
Okay.
25.
Okay, so around 25.
Yes,
okay.
And I had no choice because at the time I was actually 23. I was working for Kyle Richards, and I was out to certain people in my life, and this woman on the show hosted a gays and gals party for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It was my first year working here, and she invited me to it, and she said, "Hey, this is the party. I know you're not completely out yet. So you can decide whether you want to come to this or not. I would love for you to come with me. And if you decide that you do want to come out, I will hold your hand and support you through this whole process.
Knowing it was going to be filmed?
Knowing that it was going to be filmed and it was going to air to 4 million people.
How did your mom receive it did you call her or you saw her in person?
I called her, and I called her because I had a friend who told me the way you approach coming out is the reaction you're going to receive. So don't sit down with somebody and say, I have something to tell you. I have this life-altering situation to tell you. Get ready for doomsday. Let me see the bomb.
Right.
It was a conversation. It had happened organically. She asked me if I was seeing anybody. And I said, no, I'm not seeing anyone. And she was like, well, how's work? And I was, told her about the show and how I'm like the only black gay guy on the show. I might get some exposure. And she was like, what was that? And I repeated it again. And she was like, oh, that sounds nice. And as you know, black families can sometimes sweep things under the rug.
Yeah.
And I'm not the type to push anybody to accept me or to go that far, because I know that it took me 21 years to get comfortable with who I was, and that person lived inside of me. So I can only imagine how long it would take her to get comfortable with it. But she was great. She didn't make me feel some type of way. She never made it a big deal. And I also think my mother knew exactly who I was from the time I was born. She knew.
Yeah. You have this like really good ability to like sense what people need. Like if somebody is in distress, if somebody is stressed out, if even if they're lashing out at you, like even if you're getting the brunt of their stress, you have the ability to kind of see past that anger or frustration and know what that person needs and give it to them.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
My mom worked at a mill, Comrade Mill. They made Fruit Loom underwear. And she made a very decent living at the time. And she was raising 2 kids by herself. And when my sister went to college and I entered 6th grade, my mom lost her job. When you're the only person in a house where someone is going through something, they kind of take it out on you.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't understand it. I tried my hardest to understand it, but no one sat me down to explain transferring your feelings onto other people.
Right.
I had to really figure out at that moment, like, how can I make this easy? How can I make this hard?
At this young age, you're in 6th grade.
Yeah, but I wasn't wrapping my head around anything. Like, my mother sat me down when I was in 7th grade and said I needed to get a job. Like, you need to figure out this job situation. And I knew somebody who made fake IDs. So I got a fake ID to say I was 1 year older.
How do you know someone who makes fake IDs?
Girl,
in
it's
the
the ghetto. We know people who can make anything, okay? I got people doing some real fraud up in Louisiana, okay?
So you get a fake ID in the 7th grade to work.
To get a job permit.
Most people who are getting fake IDs are doing it so they can drink or they can party. You got it for a responsibility.
I mean, I worked and went to school double from 14 until I graduated college.
That's crazy.
And I went to school at 7:30 in the morning, got off at 2:45, went to work at 4, got off at 11, did my homework, and did that over and over again for years. And then, at 16, I kind of moved out.
Really?
My mom had another baby.
Oh, when you were 16, she got pregnant?
She got pregnant when I was 16.
Oh.
And I was so upset about it. I love my little sister now, but I was so upset about it all. And I kind of found another family.
Yeah.
So I was kind of on my own after 16 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a lot of responsibility for such a young kid.
It was fight or flight for me in the sense that I had my first mental breakdown at 22 when I graduated college and I no longer had to go to work and go to school anymore. It was like the first time I could actually sit and think about what I had done for the past 7 years.
Right.
Because it didn't hit me at that time.
Right.
They had no choice.
Do you think like all of these jobs, because you had to interact with all these different people, really cultivated like your gift to communicate?
There's a thing that we do in the Black community and in the gay community called code switching.
Yep.
What code switching means is you got to flip the script and adapt to the way they talk, the way they act, the way they move. Because being a Black gay man in a Black community, you can't show that sissy side of yourself, to them. And when you go into the white community, when I went to school, you couldn't show that hood side to them because it would make them feel some type of way.
I don't think people quite understand what you have to acclimate to as a Black person in America. Like, you realize that since you were a kid, you've been bred to assimilate to make other people comfortable.
100%.
And they can live their whole life without having to work to make you comfortable.
Look, I'll never forget this. I went to an all-white school in 7th grade, and my first slumber party at my best friend's house in 7th grade, his mom asked me, hey, do you mind staying in the car until the garage door closes? My mother and father are across the street, and they aren't, they're old school. And I knew what that meant. She didn't want them to know that there was a Black kid staying at their house.
Oh my gosh.
And it didn't hurt me at all. And it still doesn't hurt me today. It didn't, because I knew that racism at the time was something that someone learned.
You were that thoughtful.
I was that thoughtful. But I also was very privy to it because interrace racism can be hard as well.
Yes.
But going to an all-white school, I figured it out really quickly. Mm-hmm. And I had a double-edged sword. I was Black and I was gay.
Right.
So it was like, hell, But I was really lucky to meet people who didn't care and whose family members and friends said, I can't believe you have that little N-word in your house. Mm-hmm. And they said, we'll get used to it because we love him. Mm-hmm. And to grow up to see that and to watch people go against something that they learned that whole time it made me see people for who they were.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about the scandal. I don't care if you're this or that. Someone saw me for who I was. Mm-hmm. And it made me really...
I told you I was going to get you to cry.
I'll never forget that.
It's rare.
It's very rare.
That's how much you touch people, because there are a lot of people who have that story where the person tells them to leave or get out or you don't belong here or I can't stand up to my family for you. Yeah. And I think it speaks volumes about who you are that you had people willing to stand up for you. You know, God gave you these allies. And I think that's a true blessing because not everybody gets that. And I think it can make a lot of people really cold. Yeah. And it can also make people hate everyone. Yeah. The people who don't accept them, the people who don't protect them. I know that people give you a hard time in general because they see you with the housewives. They see you living this lifestyle, but you're also from Louisiana. People want to get one definition from somebody. They want people to be one known. Why are you hanging out with all these rich white people? Yeah. I know you get that a lot.
I got it a lot when I was a kid. I just got so used to it. And I didn't really care. And again, I don't really see color when I see friends. I just put myself around people that I care about and people I love, because when I was growing up, there were people that didn't see color to me. And now I don't want to ever see color. And I don't want to have to put more Black people on my Instagram because people don't think I hang out with Black people enough. I hang out with Black people.
There's a thing in the Black community where there's somebody who's Black and it's like black.
Yes.
Right? Like, yeah, you Black, but are you black? Like, do you really get what it's like to be Black, or are you kind of Black, but you don't really with Black people? One of the first things people asked me when I started at E was like, is he Black or is he like black?
I'm a real one. I'm a real one.
You really are.
You know what's funny is when I moved here when I was 22, the first person I ever lived with was Allie Landry. Like, she kind of held my hand through this whole LA thing and introduced me to Kyle. And once I started working for Kyle, we got to a point after the first season where she became family to me. Yeah. Like, I spend Christmases there. I've been there for holidays. Right. If I need somewhere to stay, she got you. She got me. Mm-hmm. She always got me. And unfortunately, there's a lot of white women in her house. She has 4 daughters. She's got 3 sisters who each have 4 daughters apiece.
She does have a daughter named Portia.
She has a daughter named Portia. And her husband's half Mexican. So, that's just the world that I got thrown into.
Right. I think sometimes people think when they see you operating in spaces that aren't Black.
Yes.
You know, me and you aren't working at BET. So if you are not in a Black space, sometimes people think that you have forgotten
100%.
who you are, where you come from.
1,000.
And you've learned how to kind of navigate and still stay you, no matter like what space you're in.
I mean, listen, I fought so hard to become the person that I am. I fought so hard to be accepted for who I am on the inside that I'm not going to let someone determine how Black or white I need to be.
You have the thickest skin of anybody that I know. Like, you really don't get upset. Like, upset, you know?
You know, it's hard. At 18 years old, in 2005, I lost my best friend in April. I graduated high school in May. My dad died 3rd of July. I started college in August. The Hurricane Katrina hit September 5th. And my grandmother, who was like a second mother to me, died in October.
Oh my God.
And this was all in a year. And I gained 40 pounds in college. I can look at photos my freshman year of college and I can't tell you where I was. It's all a blur to me, the first semester at college. And I remember telling myself on New Year's Eve, I stayed in that year because I was not feeling well. And I said, come tomorrow, you will never, ever have a year like this ever in your life. And if you ever think you have a year like this, you can look back on this and say, this is nothing compared.
Like, I made it through this.
In 2005, losing 2 parents, going to college, having Katrina hit. I stayed at a gymnasium at LSU for 4 days straight, letting people use my cell phone to try to get in touch with their loved ones.
That's insane.
During Katrina. To hear people try and not get through, to find out if their kids were alive or if their grandparents had made it out for days on end.
Right.
That to me was like, holy f***.
So you don't give a f*** about a troll trying to troll you on Twitter. Yeah. You're like, I've been through some real
I'm like, if you're going to troll me on Twitter and call me Thunder, hashtag Daily Pop. I need the ratings. I need the fucking ratings. Like, I've been through some
Yes.
Like, I have been through something, and it's so funny because I'm going to get 2005 tattooed on my arm. Because
you should.
When my friends have issues, or I have my best friend who's going through a lot right now, I always say, you're having my 2005.
I had a really bad week, like 2 weeks ago. I had a really bad day, and you just showed up. You just like showed up for me. And I'll never forget it because I feel like, you know, right now, especially with our careers, as much as we're working, people just assume you're okay.
Yeah.
You could tell I wasn't, and you invited me to brunch, and you check on me. And
no, we can't do this. We can't do this. We can't do this.
But like, you know, when people think you're strong, they don't check on you.
But it's always the strongest bitches who need help sometimes because you carry so much. You carry so much of other people that it's almost like, again, my mother, carrying 2 kids on her back. And sometimes you just need that help. You need that boost.
You see what other people don't see or care to see. And it just makes you... I know why them girls fought people for you.
Damn, you know, we can't be doing this. We cannot be doing this.
Because I'll fight anybody for you because you have one of the biggest hearts of anybody I've ever met.
You need to get a Lifetime Achievement Award so you can say that. I can't believe you're doing this.
I got a host newsletter. You got me messing up my day.
Oh my God. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. The funny part about it was when I was a kid, I used to say, I can't wait to have kids, to show them like the love that someone else showed me. Like, I can't wait to do that. And I was missing someone to give that love to and to care about and to like make sure that they're all right. So for me, I know you don't always need me. And a lot of people don't always need me. But when they do, I always want to be there for you because I know I'm going to need you at some point.
Do you still want kids? Do you still want do you want a big family?
You know, I want it all, but I know that people are, you know, some people don't want children. So I have this thing in my mind. I would love 2 children, 2 daughters, Sierra and Leone from Africa. One much blacker than the other one. That's how we tell them apart. But if my husband told me that he didn't want children, that wasn't in the cards for him because maybe he's too old or he's past that point.
You like older men.
I like older men. You have to show me every inch of the earth.
Okay.
That's my, like, we have to see everything. Because that's something that I never got to do as a kid.
Right.
But if I don't meet somebody, I'm 32 years old right now. If I don't meet somebody in 4 years, I'm going to start the process myself.
I don't like to say I don't understand why you're single because I feel like there are many factors that lead to that. But I do feel like somebody should be smart enough to wife you up.
I'm a Scorpio.
I know.
So it's a bit tough. I'm not the easiest. I'm fun.
I like that you admit that.
I'm a good time.
Are you trying to say you crazy?
I'm trying to say, I'm just trying to say that I'm crazy adjacent.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. Being single is kind of freeing for me right now. And I think if I would have stayed in my last relationship or the relationship before that, because I've only had two real relationships. One that lasted 4 years when I was in college and the year out, and one that was 2 years ago. Both great guys and amazing partners. But had I stayed in that relationship, I wouldn't be living the life that I'm living now. And I've gotten to see some great I've gotten to meet some fucking awesome people.
Yeah.
I've really gotten a chance. And it's through my other friends that I've gotten to live. You gotta live your life. And again, 2005, no one is promised tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I've said this to my friends who rush to get married so early. I'm like, you guys, we have so much more life to live. We got so many more men to sniff. Like, we got some to do.
I think that might be the title of your new memoir. We got so many men to sniff.
You got so many men to sniff. Like, I just feel like, and by the way, when I say that, I'm not having sex with a lot of people. I had the same bench for a long time.
Yeah.
I had like the same.
You like to recycle a little?
I had the same 3 people that I hooked up with for years. It was 3 people, and they always rotated. I want consistency. I want intimacy with somebody, and I just think that people aren't ready for the blessing.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And that's okay. I know when you do decide to settle down, it's going to be so magical. Where do you see your career going? Like, what's your ultimate goal?
For me, in 5 years, I want to be doing this, and I feel like what Just a Sip is, it's a place where people can tell their full story.
Yeah.
It's a place where people can feel comfortable and feel like they can be themselves. And reflecting on it for the first time today, I feel like that was cultivated in the house that I grew up in after I was 15 years old with that white family who said it's okay to be you and who encouraged me to live my truth. And I feel like that's what I want to be doing. I want to encourage people to live their truth without being judged.
Yeah. I love you, friends.
I love you too. Thank you for f***ing up my makeup.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we both a mess. Looking like death becomes her.
Look at Bill over there crying his ass off. Like what you saw? Hit subscribe. You don't want to miss any new episodes of Just a Sip, and you can catch up on any past episodes. The tea was hot, I'm telling you.